Hi, I'm Rob Eames. I recently wrote an article about a relationship skill for romantic relationships, all relationships really, but specifically for romantic relationships, about what I call positive framing. And so this is a companion video where we can do a short practice together, either as an individual, as you know, by yourself, or with your partner. Either way, this will work. And so if your partner's there and available and willing to do it, it's going to be only a short video, a few minutes, and it can have a powerful impact on your relationship. If you want to do it on your own and then, invite your partner to consider it too. There's also a companion article. So multiple ways of consuming the same content. In this one, we're going to deepen it a little bit by exploring it together and doing one practice. There are many practices of practicing positive reframing or positive framing, and we're going to try on one kind of baby step, one small one available one. That's a pretty good place to start. Um, and so a good place would be putting this a little bit into context. And so in relationships, we have needs, and those, many of those get met in relationship, right? They're relational needs, things like collaboration, support, um, to be known, to be understood, some of that we can give to ourselves. But then there is what I want, what I'm longing for in my relationship with my partner. And some of those are just relational in nature, right? And that there are the proposal that I'm offering is that there are specific relationship skills that allow you and your partner to meet those relational needs more regularly and more reliably and have more confidence and flexibility in doing that, right? So I offer compassionate coupling practice groups for couples where we just go through relationship skill by relationship skill on session by session, focusing on that relationship skill, why it's important, what it contributes to, what are opportunities to do it, what are ways to practice it, what are ways to support each other, and then building on those relationship skills as they relate to each other. So one at a time, but also sequentially and adding them as we go. So so that's a little bit about relationship skills and relational needs and why they're so important, right? When we think about what makes a relationship feel good, what creates warm, connected feelings between and goodwill between me and my partner, reliably getting relational needs met. And how do we do that? Through a core set of relationship skills is my experience. And so more about that in other places about what those relationship skills are and what those relational needs are. We're going to focus on positive framing. So a good place to start would be what positive framing is. So I'll cover that. And then we'll go through a short exercise and then how some opportunities to kind of take that into your day-to-day life and to reflect on it either yourself or with your partner. Okay. So what is positive framing? Positive framing includes at least three things, right? It's both thinking and sharing. So those two aspects of it. So there's what we share, but that comes from how we think about things. And so a good place to start is often noticing, how am I thinking about things? And positive framing is thinking about what happened, not what didn't happen, right? So what did happen, not what didn't happen. That might sound a little confusing at the start, so bear with me. Sharing what I want more of, not sharing what I don't like or what I want to stop, right? Okay. And asking directly for that. So inviting the other person in this case, my partner, to, would you help me get more of that, right? So at least three of those general things, right? What happened, not what didn't happen. And I'll go through examples of these in just a moment to make it even more concrete. So what happened, not what didn't happen. So positive framing, not positive framing. What I want more of, what I long for, not what I want to stop or what I don't like, and what I'd like in terms of support from you, right? And that might not even have one in the negative or the not positive framing, right? Because I might not even go there in the negative framing. It's not sugarcoating. It's not ignoring the real issues. You can see that the real issues are, the things that are most important to me are still there. They're just, shared more directly, actually, more transparently. So it's more likely that I'll be understood, and it's more likely that it will invite collaboration and support because I'm naming and inviting my partner in to support those things. Hopefully that makes sense. And what we're going to do is we're going to move into modeling them, right? So the second part, what I'd like to do is to try that on with some concrete examples. Before we do that, I'm going to invite you a couple things. One is I'm going to go through and say these examples. There'll be three sets of them. One is the negative framing version, and the other one is the positive framing version. I'm noticing I'm using the different, I switch sides, right? So positive framing version, negative framing version. And I'm going to invite you to maybe even to play this part of the video a few times. First time, imagine what does it feel like to be on the receiving end of those statements, each one, right? Let me in pairs. What does it feel like to be on this side, to hear this one? What does it feel like to be on the receiving end of hearing this one? But maybe pause and go back and listen again and think, what did we be like? What does it feel like to state those things, to come from that perspective and to offer those things, right? In the positive framing and in the negative framing. Okay? Let's take a breath together. Let's prepare for this. This is the first part of the activity, is the modeling part. And let's give it a go when you're ready. So you can pause, and when you're ready, just restart. Okay, the first one. We never arrive on time. It's so annoying. Right, let me do that with a more typical tone. We never arrive on time. It's so annoying. And here's the second one in the positive framing. You know, it feels good to arrive on time because ease matters to me. Would you be able to talking about how we can do that more reliably? Second pair. You don't listen to me. That's the negative framing. And the positive framing. I love it when I have your full attention. Would it work if I let you know when there's something important I'd like to share and we both put our phones away? Now the third one, the negative framing. All the chores fall on me. It's unfair. And the positive framing. I'm feeling overwhelmed with the chores. Would you be open to finding ways that work better for both of us? Okay. And obviously there are infinite number of ways to make things conversational and word choice and so on. It's not about the words. It's about the orientation, the framing of it, the perspective, right? So if some of the words are like, oh, that's not how I would talk, or that sounds rigid, or that sounds weird in terms of that could just be me and the way that and it could just be also the awkwardness of this not being a real situation, right? So let those things go a little bit if it sounds like that sounds like an odd way of speaking. The more important things is in the positive framing, it names what my experience is, what's happening, what I'm longing for, and the support that I'd like to request from my partner, or for the other person, in this case, my partner, right? It has those three components. In the negative framing, it's what I don't like, what's not happening, and there's not actually oftentimes a request for what for proposing something to do about it, or proposing to start to collaborate on it, right? Sometimes we don't know what to do about it. So the proposal in many of these was, would you be willing to talk about it as a starting point? Would you be willing to brainstorm options? Would you be open to considering how we might approach this so that we can both get more of what we want? And here's more of what I want around this particular item, right? And obviously there's more to it than this, but this gives you a flavor, right? There's more to the practice. There's more. These three examples are hopefully representative examples of some typical situations. There are things I hear in my relationship coaching work, right? There's more of them. So hopefully there's parts of them you can resonate with, saying, yeah, I can see that. So now let's move on to part 3 of this video, which is, giving you an opportunity to give it a go. But before you do that, you might want to pause at this point and just, again, just reflecting a little bit. Maybe if you have a notepad there, or in whatever way you journal or reflect on things, what do you notice? Does it seem, in this modeling part of what we're doing so far of this activity, does the positive framing, negative framing, does it make sense to you? Does it seem clear? Did the examples deepen it a little bit in terms of trying it on? What was it like to imagine being on the receiving end of both of those in terms of leaning forward, leaning back, openness, receptivity versus closing, feeling like more constricted or closing down. Seeing, uh, feeling flexibility and agency about, oh, there's things we can do about it, or feeling more, like a sense of despair or distress or defeated feeling, right? So take a moment and reflect on that. When you're ready, just restart, pick up the video, start it again. Okay, welcome back. If you paused, and now we're going to invite you to try it on, to take this away and to try it on in the upcoming days. And so we're going to practice together. If you're there with your partner, all three of us practicing together, you can support each other. This works in that context, or if it's, one-on-one. Just, what I invite you to do is just think of something low intensity. Think of something low intensity, nothing big or huge where you lost your mind or it's the end of the world. Just something that you'd like to be, to change in your life. And what I'm going to invite you to do is just step one is to name the negative version of that. And I'll use one of the examples we used before. So let's say that, one of the things I'm noticing is it really feels good to be on time. And there was that experience last night where we were late for the movies, or where we arrived on time, but it was a rush to get there, and that rush didn't feel good. Or we were late to the dinner party, and it creates some upset in me. I just prefer the ease of arriving on time and honoring commitments with my friends, right? Or whatever it is. And so that might come out in step one in the negative version, the negative framing. We're always late. We're always late. So take a moment and whatever it is for you, allow yourself the opportunity to think or jot down the negative version. You don't have to share it with your partner, right? This is for you. Okay. Okay, welcome back. So the next step is to take that and to translate it into the positive framing. And in this case, the negative framing was we're always late. So think about, what do I want? So let me give you some prompts to help with that translation. And so it might not be 100% clear, right? It's like kind of like learning a new perspective. It's, and it can be hard to try on that different perspective. Or it's like learning a new language, and it can be hard to do the translation without some support. So in thinking about this situation or this item that you want to be different, what matters to me is, let's jot that down. What matters to me is, what I want more of is, some options for getting more of it or for working together, for collaborating or discussing it would be. And those things become the fodder for the positive framing, right? What matters to me is, what I want more of is, would you be open to? And there's actually one more, which is a recent experience. My recent experience related to this is another one you can add to it, right? So I noticed last night that we arrived to the dinner party late. Positive, it's about what happened, right? And so let's continue on there, to it helps me feel relaxed when we arrive on time. Would you be open to talking about how we make it more reliable that we do that? How can we work on that together? So that's a positive framing. And so those components feed into that. So I invite you to pause the video now and to try that on. And it's low stakes, right? Right. There's nothing to share. There's nothing to do. You're doing it on paper. You're doing it with yourself. What we're going to choose to share with each other is just about the opportunity, not about the content of that. So don't worry about getting it exactly right. It's more about trying it on and seeing how it feels and deepening your understanding about what's the difference between positive framing and negative framing. How does it feel? How do you do it? Right? And how might you bring this into your what's alive for you right now in your life and in your relationship? Okay, so pause and finish up the positive framing version, and when you're ready, you can restart the video. And so welcome back. So thank you for doing that activity with me, both the modeling part and then doing one on your own in a supported way. And so why is this so important? It's clear, it's more direct, right? It's what I want. So if I share what I don't want, what I don't like, it's not 100% clear what I do want more of. When I share what's important to me, it's clear when I share, this is what isn't working for me. It's not 100% clear what's important to me. Why does it matter to me? It's warmer. It invites my partner in to, have an intimate understanding of what's most important to me, what I want more of in my life. It feels more like we're on the same team, and there's opportunities to work together on it. And that's the third part, right? It sparks collaboration because there's an openness to, would you work on this with me? Are you open to options to make this better? Are you open to ways that might feel better for me? Right? And there's more parts to it, just to name it, that we're not talking about, which is that both of your needs matter. So there's an opportunity for your partner to then share in the positive frame. And then, how do we contribute to both of those things? How do we both get more of what we want? So as we look at moving, closing this video and one savoring the practice we've done together, and then how to take this into your day-to-day life, you know, it can be challenging to do this in real time, right? So with any other skill, whether that's learning to play a musical instrument or a sport or a foreign language, it helps to do it kind of slowly. It helps to have graduated practices of different levels of difficulty and intensity. So here, that's what we're doing together. It helps to have support, and it helps to, have support and coaching around that. Oh, try it this way. What about this? You can imagine, like, in doing a sport or a musical instrument, what if you held it differently? Or what if you tried fingering it this way, the instrument? And that it takes repetition and patience to do it again and again until it becomes more of a habitual skill, something that's readily available, that's readily fluent and fluent in real time. And so inviting us into how to practice it in the upcoming days is to do that offline, right? To do it not in real time. And so, at the end of each day or the beginning of the day, some anchor point, just reflect back on the day and think about, what's something that I thought or said about something that was important to me? And to do that in a journal, a private journal, and just, consider what will be the positive framing of that. Was it maybe the positive framing was what you thought and what you shared? In that case, celebrate and just say it again and write it again as a way of reinforcing it. If it was a mix of positive and negative framing, how would it be if it was positive framed? If it was negative framed, what would the translation be? And so that's the opportunity for this week to do that on your own. And again, similar to the activity we did, it's not about sharing necessarily at this stage. If you're at the beginning of this skill, if you're starting out, not about sharing the content yet, but sharing about, oh, is there something here? Is there something that resonates with us? Is there something that we think can make our relationship better? Is there something that feels different? Is this a different way of thinking about our relationship and sharing with each other? And then building on that from there to say, okay, well then how do we actually support each other in doing it? And how do we practice it together? What are opportunities to learn and grow together? Okay. One last thing to close is that the promise here, the opportunity is that I do lead compassionate coupling practice groups that focus on these relationship skills. So if this resonated with you, that's kind of a recurring regular date night in which you can do that in the supportive community of other couples. And so check that out on my website for schedules and groups and opportunities that speaks to you to jump in and start having a structured way of building these skills together, if that speaks to both of you. And the other thing is that why will this change? Or and one thing to speak of here is that, well, how did we learn to think and speak in a certain way? We learned from what was modeled to us. We learned it is an important part. And so things that can be learned can be unlearned. And sometimes it can take time, it can take effort, and it can take regular and reliable practice. It can take support from each other and from a coach. But it can be unlearned. And so that's the promise here. And that why do we learn to think and speak in this way? It's what was modeled for us is a big part of it, right? It was passed down. And this is actually an opportunity not only to change things for ourselves, but also what we pass to other people in our lives as well, as we model this for them. And so thank you again for practicing with me, and hopefully positive framing is something that speaks to you. Maybe it's relevant and is an opportunity for positive change in your relationship, more connection, more warmth, more reliable collaboration and supports, and other things. And it provides a framework for talking about anything. So it kind of isn't prescriptive about, how do we talk about being late for things, or how do we talk about chores? It's widely applicable to all the topics of our life and all the topics of a relationship. So I'm wishing you, opportunity to practice this and to bring it into your life. And if the compassionate coupling practice groups would be a support in that, I would look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.